It's on the house tonight. Soup's for you, Zoe Hamilton told a desolate CEO, her $12 sacrifice warming a stranger's night. At Harbor Diner, that selfless act lit a spark. Nathan Brooks, a CEO drowning in loss, was pulled back by her kindness. By dawn, 30 tycoons arrived, stunned by Zoe's heart, offering her a university scholarship, a top internship, and $60,000. Her life transformed overnight, but envy lurked. A rival's lies painted Zoe as a schemer, threatening her new world and a love just beginning. Will her courage hold against the storm of betrayal? Dive into a tale of compassion, love, and resilience that proves kindness can change everything. Where are you tuning in from? Share your city below and subscribe to join our storytelling family. Thanks for watching. Let's spread more stories that lift us. Zoe Hamilton wiped the counter at Harbor Diner, her white blouse crisp despite the late hour. Her stomach growled, a reminder of the skipped meals to save her last $12. The class notes on her phone, open to a journalism lecture, glowed faintly. She glanced at them, muttering, "One day I'll write the stories that matter." Tyson Quill, the manager, leaned against the kitchen door, his flannel shirt rolled at the sleeves. "You'll be on the front page, Zoe," he teased, tossing a rag over his shoulder. "Just don't forget us little guys when you're famous." Zoe grinned, her dark eyes catching the diner's dim light. "You'll get a shout-out, Tyson. Promise." The bell above the door jingled, cutting through the hum of the jukebox playing a soft blues tune. Nathan Brooks stepped in, his gray suit stained with mud, hair plastered to his forehead from the fog outside. His eyes, hollow and distant, scanned the empty diner. He slid onto a stool, voice low. "Coffee, black. $2.50's all I got." He pushed a crumpled bill and some coins across the counter, his hands trembling. Zoe paused, watching him. Something about his slumped shoulders, the way he stared at nothing, hit her hard. She'd been there, hungry, broke, feeling like the world had turned its back. "Give me a sec," she said, turning to the coffee pot. Her fingers brushed the $12 in her pocket, all she had until Friday. The laptop she needed for her online classes was already on its last legs. But this guy, he looked like he needed a lifeline more than she needed lunch the next day. She made a snap decision. Pouring coffee, she called to the kitchen, "Tyson, fire up the grill." Tyson raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. Zoe slipped her $12 into the register, grabbed a pot, and started a batch of crab soup, the diner's specialty. The aroma of butter and spices filled the air as she toasted a slice of sourdough. When she set the steaming bowl and bread in front of Nathan, his brow furrowed. "I only got $2.50, he said, voice rough, pushing the coins closer. Zoe shrugged, keeping it light. "Special tonight. Fog discount. Soup, bread, coffee, $2.50 covers it." She held his gaze, daring him to argue. Nathan's jaw tightened, like he knew it was a lie. But he nodded, picking up the spoon. He ate slowly, each bite deliberate, as if it were the first food he'd had in hours. Zoe busied herself wiping already clean glasses, giving him space. Tyson, watching from the kitchen pass, mouthed, "You're too good, kid." She waved him off, but her chest warmed. Nathan finished, setting the spoon down with a soft clink. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a creased business card. Sliding it across the counter, he met her eyes for the first time. "You didn't have to do that, but you did. Thank you." His voice cracked, barely audible. "I won't forget it." Zoe glanced at the card. Nathan Brooks, CEO, Brooks Maritime. She blinked but kept her face neutral, tucking it into her apron. "Just doing my job," she said with a small smile. "Safe travels out there." Nathan stood, straightening his muddy jacket, and walked into the fog. Zoe watched the door swing shut, the blues tune fading into the jukebox next track. She pulled the card out, turning it over in her hands. A CEO. She'd just fed a CEO with her last dime. Shaking her head, she slipped it back into her pocket and started closing up. Tyson emerged, locking the register. "You're gonna go hungry tomorrow. You know that, right?" Zoe laughed, adjusting her blouse. "I'll survive. Always do." As she flipped the closed sign, the fog outside swirled, thick and unyielding. Nathan's card felt heavy in her apron, like it carried more than just a name. She didn't know it yet, but that card and the choice she'd made would change everything. Across town, Nathan stood under a streetlight, the fog curling around him. He gripped his phone, dialing a number. "It's me," he said, voice steady now. "I need everyone. Tomorrow. We're taking it back." The blues from the diner echoed in his mind, mingling with the warmth of the soup. He hung up, eyes sharp, already planning. Zoe locked the diner's door, her white blouse glowing faintly under the neon sign. She stepped into the fog, unaware of the wave about to crash into her life. The jukebox inside clicked off, leaving only the sound of distant waves. Zoe Hamilton hustled through the breakfast rush at Harbor Diner, her white apron smudged with coffee stains. The sizzle of bacon and chatter of dock workers filled the air. Her eyes burned from a sleepless night, her stomach tight with hunger. $12 gone, and payday still days away. She flashed a smile at a regular, refilling his mug. "More coffee, Joe?" she asked, voice bright despite the ache. Tyson Quill, flipping pancakes in the kitchen, called through the pass. "Zoe, you holding up? You look like you need a plate yourself." She waved him off, tying her apron tighter. "I'm good, Tyson. Save it for the paying folks." Her phone buzzed in her pocket, another reminder about her broken laptop, critical for her journalism class. She ignored it, grabbing a tray of plates. The bell above the door jingled, louder than usual. Zoe glanced up and her hands froze on the tray. 30 men and women in sharp suits and tailored coats poured in, their polished shoes clicking on the linoleum. Leading them was Nathan Brooks, his navy suit crisp, eyes clear, no trace of the broken man from last night. The diner went quiet, forks pausing mid-bite. Nathan strode to the counter, locking eyes with Zoe. "Morning, Zoe," he said, voice carrying a weight that made her pulse quicken. "Got a minute?" She set the tray down, wiping her hands on her apron. Sure. What's going on?" Her gaze flicked to the crowd behind him, their briefcases and confident postures out of place among the diner's worn stools. Nathan turned to the room, raising a hand. "Folks, this is Zoe Hamilton. Last night she didn't just serve me a meal, she gave me hope when I had none." He faced her again, his expression softening. "I was ready to walk away from everything. My company, Brooks Maritime, got gutted by a backstabbing partner. Then you gave me that soup, that bread, and a reason to keep fighting." Zoe's cheeks warmed, her fingers twisting the edge of her apron. "It was just soup, Nathan. No big deal." "No," he said firmly, stepping closer. "It was everything." He gestured to the group. "These are my investors, my allies. I called them last night, told them what you did. They helped me take back my company." A woman in a gray blazer stepped forward, holding a folder. "Ms. Hamilton," she said, "we've got something for you." She opened it, revealing documents and a check. A full scholarship to the university's journalism program, an internship at the city's top paper. And this. She slid the check across the counter. $60,000. Zoe's breath caught. She stared at the numbers, her vision blurring. This is too much," she stammered, tears spilling onto her white apron. "I can't." "You can," Nathan interrupted, his voice gentle but unyielding. "You gave me a second chance. Now it's your turn." Tyson burst from the kitchen, clapping so loud it startled the room. "That's my girl," he shouted, grin wide. The dock workers joined in, clapping and whistling, turning the diner into a roar of celebration. Zoe clutched the check, her hands shaking, laughter mixing with her tears. Nathan leaned in, lowering his voice. "You changed my life, Zoe. This is just the start." She met his eyes, seeing gratitude, and something deeper, something that made her heart skip. As the investors mingled, shaking her hand, Zoe tucked Nathan's business card deeper into her pocket. It felt like a talisman now, heavy with possibility. Tyson slung an arm around her, whispering, "Told you you're a star." She laughed, wiping her eyes, the check still gripped tight. Outside, unnoticed, Lydia Pierce stood across the street, her red dress stark against the morning light. She snapped photos of Zoe and Nathan through the diner's window, her lips curling. "So the little waitress thinks she's a player," she muttered, fingers flying over her phone. "Let's see how long that lasts." She sent a message, then slipped away, heels clicking on the pavement. Back inside, Zoe hugged Tyson, her white apron crumpled, but her spirits soaring. The investors began to leave, promising to follow up on her internship. Nathan lingered, watching her with a quiet smile. "See you around, Zoe," he said, then walked out, the bell jingling behind him. Zoe stood behind the counter, the check in her hands, the folder of opportunities beside it. The diner buzzed back to life, orders piling up. but she felt like she was floating. For the first time, her dreams, journalism, a better life, felt within reach. She smoothed her apron, picked up her tray, and got back to work, unaware of the storm Lydia was already brewing. Zoe Hamilton adjusted the straps of her shimmering white gown, stepping into the chandelier-lit ballroom with Nathan Brooks at her side. The buzz of the charity auction, clinking glasses, murmured deals, and a violin's soft hum felt like another world. Her heart raced, but she held her chin high, determined not to falter. Nathan's hand grazed her elbow, steadying her. "You're stealing the show already," he said, his navy tux catching the light. She managed a smile, smoothing her gown. "Hope I don't trip and ruin the vibe." Her journalism internship had started that week, and she'd spent hours drafting an article on maritime trade, emailing Nathan for quotes. His quick reply, and an invite to this auction, had caught her off guard. Now here she was, a diner waitress among tycoons. Nathan led her through the crowd, introducing her to investors. "This is Zoe Hamilton," he said to a silver-haired man in a pinstripe suit. "She's the one who inspired me to fight for Brooks Maritime." The man shook her hand, impressed. "Heard about your story. You've got grit." Zoe's cheeks warmed, her gown glowing under the lights. Across the room, Lydia Pierce sipped champagne, her teal dress hugging her frame, its deep hue sharp against her pale skin. Her eyes narrowed as she watched Zoe laugh at Nathan's side. She leaned toward a woman in a velvet blazer, voice low. "That's the waitress Nathan's parading around. Quite the leap, don't you think?" The woman raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Zoe felt Lydia's stare but kept her focus on Nathan. He guided her to the dance floor as the violin shifted to a slow waltz. "May I?" he asked, offering his hand. She nodded, her gown swaying as they moved. Their steps synced, his hand warm on her waist, their eyes locked. For a moment the room faded, and it was just them, the music weaving around her white dress. At the diner, Tyson Quill sat at the counter, scrolling on his phone. The auction's live stream played, showing Zoe and Nathan dancing. "Look at her," he muttered, grinning, "shining like a star." A cook glanced over, chuckling. "Our Zoe's out there making waves." Lydia set her glass down, weaving through the crowd. She caught Zoe's eye, her smile tight. "Enjoying the spotlight, Ms. Hamilton?" she said, voice dripping with honey. "From slinging soup to waltzing with CEOs. Impressive." Zoe kept her tone even, her gown's fabric cool under her fingers. "I'm just here to learn, Ms. Pierce. Thanks for the sentiment." Nathan's hand tightened slightly on hers, his jaw tensing. Lydia leaned closer, undeterred. "Nathan and I go way back. Did he tell you? We were close, very close, before he got distracted by charity cases." Her words landed like a jab, but Zoe held her gaze, refusing to flinch. "Funny," Zoe said, tilting her head. "He seems pretty focused now." Nathan stifled a laugh, pulling Zoe closer as the song ended. "Let's get some air," he murmured, steering her away. Lydia's smile froze, her fingers curling around her clutch. They stepped onto a balcony, the night air cool against Zoe's skin. Nathan leaned against the railing, his tux sharp in the moonlight. "Sorry about Lydia," he said. "She's bitter. We dated briefly, years ago. It meant nothing, but she can't let it go." Zoe nodded, her gown catching the breeze. "She's not subtle about it." Her mind replayed Lydia's words, a flicker of doubt creeping in. Was she just a fleeting distraction for Nathan? She pushed it down, focusing on his steady gaze. "You're not a charity case," he said, reading her silence. "You're the reason I'm standing here, Zoe. Don't let her get in your head." His voice was firm, his eyes searching hers. She nodded, her heart steadying. Back inside, Lydia lingered by a dessert table, her teal dress stark under the lights. She pulled out her phone, typing a message. "Dig into her. I want everything. Now." Her lips curved, a plan forming. She glanced at Zoe and Nathan returning, her eyes glinting with intent. Zoe rejoined the crowd, her white gown radiant as she chatted with an investor about her internship. Nathan stayed close, his presence grounding her. She laughed at a joke, her confidence growing, unaware of Lydia's message pinging across town to a contact ready to unearth her past. As the auction wrapped, Nathan walked her to the exit, his hand brushing hers. "You own this room," he said, smiling. Zoe grinned, her gown sparkling under the foyer's glow. "Thanks for the vote of confidence." She stepped into the night, The violin's echo fading. Lydia watched from the shadows, her phone buzzing with a reply. Zoe's laughter rang out as she and Nathan headed to his car, oblivious to the storm brewing in Lydia's mind. Zoe Hamilton sat on her worn couch, her white blouse unbuttoned at the collar, the glow of her laptop casting shadows across her small apartment. The headline on the screen burned into her: Harbor Girl, from diner counter to CEO's bed. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled, the article detailing her childhood in a rough neighborhood, her years scraping by on minimum wage. It painted her as a gold digger, using Nathan Brooks for his wealth. Her stomach churned, memories of being judged for her skin color flooding back. She slammed the laptop shut, pacing the room. Nathan's voice echoed from their date last night, where they'd laughed over milkshakes by the docks, blues music drifting from a nearby bar. He'd given her a new laptop, saying, "You're gonna write the world's stories with this." Now that world was tearing her apart. Her phone buzzed. Nathan. "Zoe, you okay?" he asked, voice tight. "I just saw the article. I'm coming over." "No," she said, her throat dry. "I need to figure this out. Who did this?" "I'll find out," he promised. "This isn't your fault." Zoe hung up, her blouse sleeve catching on a nail in the wall. She yanked it free, grabbing her old laptop. Hours of digging through online forums and article bylines led her to a leaked email, a source selling her personal details to Lydia Pierce. Her blood boiled. Lydia, in her teal dress at the auction, had smirked, calling her a charity case. This was her doing. She threw on a jacket, heading to the newsroom where she interned. The office buzzed with clacking keyboards and ringing phones. Lydia stood by a desk, her red dress stark against the gray cubicles, laughing with a colleague. Zoe marched over, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We need to talk." Lydia raised an eyebrow, dismissing her colleague. "What's this, Miss Hamilton? Trouble in paradise?" "You leaked my life to that rag," Zoe said, holding up her phone, the article's headline glaring. "You paid someone to dig up my past. Why?" Lydia's smile didn't waver. "You don't belong in Nathan's world. You're a waitress playing dress up. He'll see it soon enough, once he remembers who he really needs." She stepped closer, her red dress catching the fluorescent light. "I'm just speeding up the inevitable." Zoe clenched her fists, her blouse crisp against her skin. "I'm writing my own story, Lydia, not yours. You crossed a line." She turned, ignoring Lydia's scoff, and headed to her desk, already drafting an email to her editor about Lydia's ethics violation. Her phone rang. Tyson Quill calling from the diner. "Zoe, saw that garbage article," he said, his voice warm but firm. "You're tougher than this. That night you gave Nathan that soup, you showed who you are. Don't let this snake take that from you." Zoe's eyes stung, but she nodded, though he couldn't see. "Thanks, Tyson. I'm not giving up." She hung up, her resolve hardening. She opened her laptop, starting an expose on Lydia's shady tactics, her fingers flying over the keys. Nathan texted, "Found the hacker. Lydia paid him off. I'm handling it legally." Zoe exhaled, grateful but not surprised. She typed faster, her blouse sleeve brushing the desk, the article taking shape, her first real shot at fighting back. Back at the newsroom, Lydia glanced at Zoe, her red dress a bold contrast to the office's muted tones. She picked up her phone, scrolling through comments under the article. "Gold digger, doesn't belong." Her lips curved, satisfied. She typed a new message to a contact. "Push harder. I want her gone." Zoe saved her draft, her heart pounding but steady. She stood, smoothing her blouse, and walked out, the newsroom's noise fading. Tyson's words echoed. She was tougher than this. She'd prove it, not just to Lydia, but to herself. As she stepped into the evening, her phone lit up with a new article. This one worse. Black Opportunist, How Zoe Hamilton Snagged a CEO. With a blurry photo of her confronting Lydia, her breath hitched, the words cutting deeper than before. She gripped her phone, eyes burning, but didn't stop walking. Nathan waited outside, leaning against his car, his suit sharp despite the late hour. He opened his arms and she fell into them, her blouse crumpling against his chest. "We'll fight this," he said, his voice fierce. "Together." Zoe nodded, pulling back, her resolve like steel. She'd write that expose, expose Lydia, and reclaim her story. The city lights flickered around them, the docks quiet but for the distant hum of a blues bar. She wasn't done yet. Zoe Hamilton stood at the edge of the crowded press conference hall, her emerald dress catching the flash of cameras. Her palms were clammy, but she squared her shoulders, the fabric cool against her skin. Nathan Brooks adjusted his tie beside her, his gray suit sharp under the spotlights. Reporters jostled for position, their murmurs mixing with the hum of equipment. Zoe's expose on Lydia Pierce sat in her bag, submitted to her editor last night, ready to break. Nathan stepped to the podium, his voice steady. "I'm here to set the record straight about Zoe Hamilton," he said, eyes scanning the room. "She didn't just save my company when I lost everything. She gave me hope with a bowl of soup when I had nothing left. The articles calling her a gold digger? They're lies spread by someone who can't stand her strength." Zoe's heart pounded as he gestured to her. "Zoe's not just my partner. She's the inspiration for the Harbor Light Fund, a program to support young journalists from tough backgrounds. We're building it together because she showed me what matters." The crowd erupted in questions, but Nathan raised a hand. "Zoe has something to say." He stepped back, his gaze locking with hers. A silent, "You've got this." She approached the mic, her dress shimmering. "I grew up with nothing," she began, voice clear despite the knot in her chest. "I've been judged for my skin, my job, my dreams. Those articles? They tried to tear me down, but I'm still standing. I'm here to show kids like me that they can rise, write their own stories, and never let anyone silence them." Her words rang out, met with a wave of applause. Across town, Tyson Quill watched the live stream from Harbor Diner's counter, his flannel shirt sleeves rolled up. "That's our girl," he said to a waitress, his eyes wet. "Knocking it out of the park." The diner's regulars clapped, the air thick with pride. Zoe stepped back, her breath shaky but her resolve firm. Nathan squeezed her hand, whispering, "You were incredible." She smiled, the weight of the moment lifting slightly. Reporters swarmed, but she focused on Nathan's warmth, grounding her. Hours later, her expose hit the presses. "Unethical journalism, Lydia Pierce's paid lies." It detailed Lydia's payment to a hacker for Zoe's personal records, backed by emails Zoe had uncovered. Social media exploded, with hashtags like Josh Justice for Zoe trending. Lydia was suspended from her outlet by noon, her career teetering. But Lydia didn't go quietly. That evening, she appeared on a cable news show, her red dress stark against the studio lights. "I've known Nathan Brooks for years," she said, voice smooth but venomous. "He's being manipulated by a woman who saw an opportunity and took it. Zoe Hamilton is no victim. She's playing him and everyone else." The host pressed for proof, but Lydia deflected, her words igniting a firestorm online. Comments flooded in. "She's lying," clashed with, "Zoe's a fake." Zoe watched the clip from her apartment, her emerald dress swapped for a white sweatshirt. Her phone buzzed. Tyson. "Don't let that woman get to you," he said, his voice steady. "That night you gave Nathan that soup, you showed the world who you are. Keep shining, Zoe." She exhaled, nodding. "Thanks, Tyson. I'm not backing down." Hanging up, she opened her laptop, starting a personal essay about her journey, from diner shifts to fighting lies with truth. Her editor had greenlit it for the front page, a chance to reclaim her narrative. Nathan arrived, his suit jacket slung over his shoulder. He pulled her into a hug, his cologne grounding her. "Lydia's desperate," he said. "Her lies are falling apart. Your article's already changing the story." Zoe leaned into him, her sweatshirt soft against his shirt. "I just want people to see me, not her version of me." "They will," he said, kissing her forehead. "You're unstoppable." Zoe returned to her essay, her fingers steady on the keys. Lydia's TV stunt had hurt, but it also lit a fire. She wrote about the diner, the soup, the dreams she'd fought for, words that felt like armor. Nathan sat beside her, reading over her shoulder, his presence a quiet strength. Outside, the city hummed, the docks alive with distant music. Lydia's face flashed on a newsstand TV, her red dress a fading image as Zoe's essay began circulating online. Comments poured in. "She's the real deal. Lydia's done." Zoe didn't see them yet, but she felt the shift, her voice cutting through the noise. She saved her draft, her white sweatshirt glowing under the desk lamp. Nathan laced his fingers with hers, a silent promise. The fight wasn't over, but Zoe was ready. Her truth was louder than Lydia's lies, and she'd make sure it echoed. Zoe Hamilton stood on the deck of a small yacht, her white gown flowing in the moonlight as the boat rocked gently on the harbor. The city's skyline glittered across the water, a blues melody drifting from a speaker nearby. Nathan Brooks leaned against the railing, his black suit unbuttoned, a soft smile playing on his lips. "You look like you belong out here," he said, his voice warm. Zoe adjusted her gown, laughing. "Feels more like I'm borrowing the view." Her week had been a whirlwind. Her front-page essay about her journey had gone viral, shifting public sentiment. The Harbor Light Fund, launched days ago, had already secured scholarships for 150 young journalists. She and Nathan had gone public with their relationship, braving curious stares at coffee shops and dockside walks. He stepped closer, his hand brushing hers. "You're not borrowing anything, Zoe. You've earned every bit of this." His eyes held hers, steady and sure, making her heart skip. She thought of Lydia Pierce's TV stunt, the cruel comments calling her a manipulator. They stung, but the support, letters from kids inspired by her story, Tyson's proud grin at the diner, kept her grounded. Nathan took her hand, leading her to the boat's bow. "I've got something to say," he began, his voice low. He knelt, pulling a velvet box from his pocket. Zoe's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a diamond ring that sparkled like the harbor lights. "Zoe Hamilton, you're my world. You gave me hope when I had none, and every day with you makes me better. Will you marry me?" Her eyes welled, the gown's fabric cool against her trembling fingers. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, 1,000,000 times yes." Nathan slid the ring onto her finger, standing to pull her into a kiss. The blues tune swelled, the city fading as they held each other, the moment theirs alone. Back at Harbor Diner, Tyson Quill flipped the closed sign, hosting a small party for regulars. He raised a glass, his flannel shirt creased from a long shift. "To Zoe," he said, voice thick. "She's out there living her dream, and I couldn't be prouder." The crowd cheered, clinking mugs, unaware of the proposal unfolding miles away. Across town, Lydia Pierce sat in her sleek apartment, her teal dress discarded on a chair. She scrolled through social media, her jaw tightening at posts praising Zoe's essay. "She's an inspiration. Lydia's finished." Desperate, she posted anonymously, "Zoe Hamilton's pregnant, locking down Nathan Brooks for his money." The rumor spread fast, comments piling up. "Knew it. Typical move." Zoe and Nathan, still on the yacht, didn't see the post. She rested her head on his shoulder, the ring glinting. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice soft. "People keep twisting our story." Nathan kissed her forehead. "Let them talk. We know the truth." The next morning, Zoe woke in her apartment, her white sweatshirt loose as she checked her phone. Her stomach dropped at Lydia's rumor, now trending. She called Nathan, voice shaking. "They're saying I'm pregnant to trap you." He laughed unfazed. "No one's buying it. It's just noise." But as she hung up, a wave of nausea hit. She froze, counting days, then rushed to a pharmacy, buying a test with trembling hands. The result was positive. Zoe stared at the stick, her sweatshirt sleeve brushing her cheek as tears fell. She wasn't trapping anyone. She loved Nathan. She called him, and he arrived in minutes, his suit rumpled from a morning meeting. "We're having a baby?" he asked, eyes wide with joy. She nodded, and he pulled her close, laughing. "Caleb," he said, "if it's a boy, it means faith." Zoe smiled, her fear easing. "Caleb, I like it." They sat together, planning, her ring catching the light. The rumor, though false in intent, had revealed their truth, and they'd face it together. Tyson called later, inviting her to the diner's party. "Heard you're the talk of the town," he teased. Zoe laughed, pulling on a white jacket. At the diner, regulars hugged her, toasting her essay's impact. Tyson pulled her aside, his eyes warm. "Your family, Zoe, always will be." She hugged him, her jacket bright against his flannel. As she left, her phone lit up with a new article. "Harbor Queen, Zoe Hamilton's pregnancy ploy?" The headline twisted Lydia's rumor, amplifying it. Zoe's jaw clenched, her white jacket stark in the dusk. She shoved the phone into her pocket, Nathan's hand finding hers. "Let's go home," he said, his voice an anchor. They walked toward the docks, the blues melody from the yacht lingering in Zoe's mind. Lydia's lies couldn't touch this. Their love, their future, their child. Zoe tightened her grip on Nathan's hand, ready to fight for their story, no matter what came next. Zoe Hamilton stepped onto the stage of the packed community center, her white dress radiant under the warm lights. 6-month-old Caleb squirmed in Nathan Brooks' arms at the front row, his tiny suit matching his father's crisp gray one. The Harbor Light Fund's first gala buzzed with donors, journalists, and young scholarship recipients, all gathered to celebrate the program's success. Zoe's heart swelled. She'd helped 500 kids chase their dreams, just as she'd chased hers. She gripped the podium, her dress's fabric cool against her palms. "A year ago, I was pouring coffee at a diner, thinking my dreams were out of reach," she said, voice steady. "Then I took a chance on kindness, and it changed everything. This fund is about giving that chance to others, to kids who feel invisible. We see you. You're enough." The room erupted in applause, cameras flashing. Tyson Quill, in a rare suit instead of his usual flannel, clapped loudest from the back. He'd driven in for the event, his diner now a local legend thanks to Zoe's story. "That's my girl," he muttered, wiping his eyes. A scholarship kid beside him, a nervous teen with a notebook, whispered, "She's why I'm applying to college." Tyson nodded, proud. Zoe stepped down, joining Nathan and Caleb. Nathan kissed her cheek, whispering, "You were perfect." Caleb giggled, grabbing her dress. She laughed, her ring glinting as she tickled his chin. The crowd mingled, donors pledging more funds, kids sharing their stories. Zoe felt unstoppable, her journalism degree now framed at home, her bylines stacking up. But the moment shifted. Lydia Pierce entered, her teal dress sharp against the gala's soft glow. Whispers rippled. Her suspension had made headlines after Zoe's exposé. Zoe tensed, Nathan's hand tightening on hers. Lydia approached the stage, uninvited, and took the mic. The room fell silent. "I owe someone an apology," Lydia said, her voice clear but strained. "Zoe Hamilton, I was wrong. I let jealousy cloud me. Your heart, your strength, it's something I couldn't match. I spread lies, tried to break you. I'm sorry." Her eyes met Zoe's, raw with regret. "You didn't deserve it." Zoe's breath caught, her white dress steadying her as she processed the words. Nathan leaned in, murmuring, "Your call." She nodded, stepping forward. "Thank you, Lydia," she said, voice firm. "Let's move forward. Everyone deserves a second chance." The crowd clapped, some hesitantly, others with warmth. Lydia stepped down, her teal dress fading into the crowd as she left, shoulders lighter. Tyson joined them, hugging Zoe. "You're bigger than all this," he said, ruffling Caleb's hair. "That diner's still waiting for you, you know." Zoe grinned, her dress brushing his arm. "I'll bring Caleb by for soup soon." They laughed, the tension dissolving. Later, Zoe and Nathan mingled, her white dress a beacon among suits and gowns. A reporter approached, recorder in hand. "Ms. Hamilton, forgiving Lydia Pierce was a bold move. What drove that choice?" Zoe looked at Nathan, then Caleb, her voice steady. "Holding on to anger doesn't build anything. Choosing forgiveness. It's how I shape my future. For me, for my family, for these kids." The gala wound down, guests departing with inspired chatter. Zoe, Nathan, and Caleb slipped out, walking to the harbor's edge. The sunset painted the water gold, a blues tune drifting from a nearby bar. Zoe's dress glowed, Nathan's arm around her, Caleb asleep against his shoulder. They paused by a bench, the dock's quiet. Nathan laced his fingers with hers, his suit sleeve brushing her hand. "You changed the world tonight," he said, eyes soft. Zoe smiled, her ring catching the light. "We did. Together." The waves lapped gently, the city alive around them. Zoe's dress swayed in the breeze, her heart full. She'd faced lies, fought for truth, and built something lasting. Caleb stirred, cooing, and she kissed his forehead, Nathan's hand warm in hers. Their story, born from a bowl of soup, had sparked hope for hundreds, and it was only the beginning. What an incredible journey of kindness and resilience in the Harbor Diner. Zoe's story shows how a single act can spark change. What did you think of her courage or Nathan's loyalty? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear them. Thank you for joining us in this heartfelt tale. Stay tuned for more stories that inspire and uplift. See you next time.